Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to do a reading. I felt really guided to come on and do one today. And I had all this stuff that was kind of swirling in my head and just seemed like it was just like a waterfall, just like so effortless. And then a friend of mine and I communed this morning. We hadn't talked in a week, and she's the one that I do all my main decoding with. We were just like all over the place. So now my mind is like really just like blown and open and has all these pieces in it. So, which obviously is how it's supposed to be for this reading, because that happened and nothing is a coincidence. So here I am in that like sort of like blank mind space again. So I'm just going to jump in and see what wants to come through today. And so, yeah, it's really kind of like jumping off the cliff and just letting whatever comes out of my mouth, trusting that flow. So I'm going to do an overall energy for this reading right now. So we have Stag Spirit take the lead, and that's a 58, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so 13. So there's that divine feminine energy coming up right away. Okay, so there's a strong message with that, with the feminine energy leading. This matches up with what I was talking about last week and probably every other reading I've ever done, because I always bring this up, but just the nature, the proper alignment of the polarities, which gives us that spiritual immunity. That's what I was talking about in that last reading. When we are listening to our intuition, we're allowing our feminine, intuitive, soul-based energy to lead. We become that God fractal, and we can basically walk through fire, right? Because we're going to be guided. We're going to be exactly where we need to be in any moment. Although that's always true. Hi, Boudica. That's always true, because even when we're going through our alchemies or we're in our amnesia, we're still being guided to the exact crunches and compressions that we need to awaken so that we can get to this point where we choose to let our feminine, again, that 13, that energy lead. Also, 13 collapses into a 4. It's that number of stability. So stabilizing in our soul-based feminine energy. So a lot of what was coming through, sort of the grand summary of what my friend and I were powwowing about today, was this. Let me see if I can get this out. Let me see how this wants to come out. Yeah, so it's like a continuation of what we were talking about last week, where when you have your polarities intact and you become that fractal, a fractal version of all that is, then you have that spiritual immunity. And what I had, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. What I had titled it was Zero Fear equals spiritual immunity / grid reset. And I was like, why did I say that? Why did I say it like that? Like, what did I even mean by that? Did I even talk about that in the reading at all? And I realized it was and it's very true, and it was channeled. And so it's like when we become that fractal of all that is, we're also a fractal of the stargates. So we become a fractal of the stargates, because again, the stargates are where all the power is, and where the interdimensional energies can come in and out of our planet, right? So whoever has governance or guardianship of the stargates is controlling the frequency on this planet, right? They're controlling the frequency, because you can only enter through the stargate. I'm going to see if I can get this out. Through these stargates, if you are a match to the frequency of that which is governing the stargates. So the stargates have been hijacked, and they've been governed by lower astral beings. So that which is coming in and out is a match to the lower astral being. Well, the governance is changing. It's changing into, again, this feminine energy, this divine feminine energy is leading. Therefore, once that stabilizes, the 4, once that stabilizes, and again, remember, it's all fractals. So once it stabilizes in ourselves, once it stabilizes in the stargates, then the energy of that which is leading stabilizes on this planet. Okay, so the way that so this is all just like coming through, because I've had pieces of this puzzle. Her and I really got it together this morning. So, hold on. The way that we, so the way I said that, like, zero fear equals spiritual immunity / grid reset. Because when our polarities are intact and we are allowing our feminine to lead, we become a God fractal of that higher frequency, which is actually meant to govern here on this planet. It's not the feminine alone, right? So we were talking about this last time too, with the Sophia, with the Gnostic teachings, and the Sophia that created on her own without her divine counterpart, right? And the distortion and everything that came from that, right? It's not creating, it's not the feminine by herself, it's the feminine with her masculine. And for us in our fractalized human selves, that's as simple as listening to your intuition and not telling yourself you're crazy, but honoring it and taking action on it. So you have that co-creation, like what's coming up in the last reading. You're co-creating on the planet through your intuition, not by copying other people. Or so, for example, in the reading that I did about my energy work, where I couldn't stay within the lines and just do the modality of the training I had learned, because that was somebody else's intuition. I had to do my own. But I had to create a container for myself in order to trust and be able to do that, because I was doubting myself. And that self-doubt, coming back to that Sophionic wound, where we are afraid to listen to our intuition, and we're afraid to go out on the limb and do something that's completely of ourselves. We want to copy other people. We want to follow a program. We want a guidebook. We want a rule book. We want to perform and perfect like we've been taught to do. It's like to just jump off the cliff. And I think that's why I'm often guided to do these readings like this, because I'm supposed to represent the frequency of that true divine feminine flow, allowing the divine, somebody just allowing, look at what happened. my bracelets got tangled. I got seeds like that. It's like, it's so hard to untangle this. And remember that in the last reading, we had the 8 of Swords, and she was all tied up and she had the swords around her. And I mean, that's the energy that we've all grown in. That's the energy that we were grown in and grew up in and are living in for eons now, right? It's really, really hard to come out of. And so there's a lot this week. I've been my attention has been grabbed to different versions of, how do I say this without sounding like an asshole? There's a lot, if I sound like an asshole, I sound like an asshole. There's a lot, it's been really, so many fucked up things have been normalized, right? But one of the things that's been really normalized in our society now is this the false light, the spiritual performance, the performative, that's just the word that wants to come, the posturing, the pretending, the all these things, right? And all of that, and that is admired, and that is encouraged, and that is, this standard. It's kind of like in school when if you don't do it this way, then you don't get the good grade, and then you don't get the job. It's like the standard of presentation is presenting, right? And that's normalized. And so I was having conversation with a friend of mine or maybe it was like a Facebook post or something, but, so again, this goes back to the AI with the fakeness, and you enhance your photos, or you create a character, and I'm so sorry, I don't want to be offending anybody, but to me, it's like, it's just the wrong energy. It's like, again, we're in the Aquarian age where we're meant to bring forth our God spark, to do our unique, like it's that Martha Graham quote, there's only one of you in all the universe. I forget what it is. I used to have it on my business cards, but it's like, there's only one of you in all the universe. Like only you, I forget exactly what it is, but only you can play this unique part. If you don't play it, the world doesn't get it, And so this whole thing of using anything other than our own essence, if we're putting our energy out in any format, we want it to contain our energy. We want it to contain our energy without the AI hive mind interlane with it. We want to stay organic. We want to, and again, that's the soul, allowing the soul, our unique soul, to lead, and not the AI hive mind. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, the thing that was really coming through, so it's coming back to me. What's been happening for me is and I've mentioned this, when I wake up in the middle of the night and I feel this overlay, this disturbance, I'll feel an energy of unsafety or worry or anxiety, and I have to remind myself of what's real. I have to, my new thing is to just say everything is always exactly as it needs to be. It's exactly as it needs to be. Nothing can ever be wrong. Nothing's wrong. Because it's that feeling of oh no, something's wrong, like that. And so I've mentioned this before in terms of so this is gonna hit for those of you that are energetically sensitive. I finally like nailed this thing with the help of this thing that I'm going to talk about. Okay, so yeah, this is the thing I wanted to talk about. It's coming through. I've talked about this before when you're picking up on new energies, right? And so the first time it happened for me was when in 2020, when all the different things were coming out, the virus and then the antidote to the virus and all that. And there was a certain frequency, and I didn't even know. At that point, it's like I was empathic and I felt energies, but I didn't realize the extent of sensitivity that I had. But I was feeling the frequency of those things. But what was attached to that frequency was the intention behind their creation. And I could feel what I understand now is the evil intention behind it, right? So you can feel the frequency of darkness, of inorganic, let's say it that way, inorganic, life atrophying rather than destructive, rather than creational, right? You can feel that it's like going the opposite direction of evolution, right? Like our cells, our DNA, there's something that just ding 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 dings, because those of us that are here for this shift and that are here to lead it and to anchor it, right? To listen to it, to bring it forth from sniffing out this strange scent from, somewhere, right? Oh, here, just blind, truly allowing your intuition, your guidance, your memories, that which you don't remember, but you have somewhere in you to lead and to guide so that we can make this shift, right? We're going to intuitively feel when something's off. So that first started for me with those two things. And it used to be like I would feel, and I've mentioned this before, but there's always, new people, and I think I only mentioned it once. But anyway, it used to be like if I would like watch something that had, like I would make a choice that would let something in, right? And this was a time where it wasn't about our choices. It was literally being like the frequency of it was coming in through the walls. You couldn't get away from it, right? And so that was a time when I was like, okay, I need more crystals and more plants. And I just intuitively felt to surround myself with organic signals, truth codes. And I didn't quite understand that what I was receiving in the invisible was an inorganic code. It was an inorganic signal, and connected to that was an inorganic intention, right? And an agenda. And so, but intuitively I knew to, it's when I started like obsessively going out into nature. But I was also in that year, the 2020 year, I was living out in the desert, so there was nothing to do but go out into nature. And so, you can see again, like we're always exactly where we need to be, right? Like we're always kind of guided in how to deal with these things if we're listening, right? If we're listening. And so, anyway, then the next things that started coming in energetically were, so it was around 2022, I believe. It was like maybe the end of 2021. It was November of 2021. And I was learning this from Amanda Lawrence, if you follow her. And so what she was talking about is how the solar energies used to come in. We used to get it because we were heading into a solar maximum, right? So they used to come in, maybe like every 3 months or every 6 months. And then, you'd get something and then you'd integrate for a really, really, really long time. And, and then it got like closer and closer together, where you'd only have a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden it was steady and you didn't get any more breaks. And so I didn't know that, but I later tracked back and I saw that around the time that was starting to happen, I started feeling really, really overwhelmed. My nervous system was just like, oh my God, like, oh my God. I started having a lot of fear programs coming up. I was having panic attacks. I wasn't sleeping. I was having psychic attack. And what I realized is it was just my spidey senses detecting a change in the environment, a change in the energetics that were coming through to us. The same thing happened when the green comet when was that? Maybe 2023 that came in, registering that, although that one felt really euphoric. To me, that one, all of my cells were kind of like, but then 3i Atlas as well. 3i Atlas, that was another one that jacked up my nervous system. Okay, so I've talked about this before. What I finally identified is that recently, so the one night I woke up And I was like, oh my God, it was just clear as day to me that what I was picking up on in the field now is the AI hive mind, the AI frequency. It's like a netting. I want to say it like a netting, like an AI netting that's just overlaying everything. And so, and one of the things that I've noticed is that I used to have really prophetic dreams like all the time, and not all the time. I go through phases with them, but now I hardly ever do. I don't as much because there's just this clog up in the astral. And a lot of it is from the AI because, it's just, and then so with all the data centers, which I didn't even know anything about until a couple weeks ago. So it's like when it's time to see something, all the puzzle pieces come in. So again, the seeing clearly, we were talking about that last time where you're just getting all the pieces that you need to kind of like unlock the next level of awareness so that you can find that stability, right? So that your intuition can guide you. Again, this can guide you through the next level so you can have greater stability. I'm getting to this other point that I'm trying to make. And stability because when we stabilize within ourselves as a God fractal, we stabilize our grid. So that's what I'm realizing. We stabilize the grid that we're assigned to, but the grids that we're assigned to, like I learned recently, I'm pretty much right near, sometimes on, depending on where I go, the 33rd parallel. I learned that the 33rd parallel connects to the Sphinx in Egypt and also to Iran, to Stargate 10. So, right? So all of these things pass through. So as you're stabilizing on your grid, you're networking between the latitude and the longitudes in your area. There's also something with the angelic lines, the seraphim and the Elohim that my friend who channels, and we do sessions together as well. So we're unlocking all this information together. She was talking about that, how the feminine and the masculine with the longitude and the latitude, those lines affect each other to help stabilize, right? So there's all this like architecture, right? The mechanics of this that are starting to come online. So when we are able to stabilize our energy and be that God fractal, we're stabilizing the grid, okay? So remember several readings ago, there was a lot that, because everything comes in, some people who have voices in their head, they have direct guidance, they're told what to do. Not me, no. I just have weird whiftings of dreams and things coming in through intuition, and then it like slowly unpacks and slowly makes sense later. I guess that's how my soul wanted to do it because it is really fun for me. I really do like that. But sometimes I'm just like, can somebody just tell me, I mean, eventually I do get that confirmation. But anyway, so a while ago, I was having all these synchronicities with people in my life and with songs and with dreams and all these things around the elementals and working with the elementals and how they were wanting our attention, right? There was this symbiotic relationship that was being like, hey, 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 hey. Now I understand it's about the grids and it's about the stargates, okay? So, and working together, and as we connect with the land, so you can notice, and this is something that I've brought up before as well, but not for a while, you can tell when you look at people's nature photos when they're deeply merged, and I can tell with my own too, like there are days where I'm really tired and I'm not really able to merge with the nature. And when we merge with the nature, we're merging with the energetics of our land and we're connecting with our grids. And so when there are times when I'm tired or I'm with my kids or I'm distracted, and I might take some photos just for beauty's sake or just because I like to do that, but there's not the transmission in the energy. And then you can feel it. I can see it in my own photos, like my ones from yesterday, or I guess I might be posting this tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'm going to post this, but it was the ones from when I was up on the hill, if we're friends on Facebook, and I took that really long walk and found that new vista and all this. It's like, you can feel in those photos, like and somebody even said like the energy's palpable, and I can see it too, because I was so merged. And I started out really tired actually, but because there was this magical mystery unfoldment of this new terrain and it was so symbolic, I got really high. So anyway, you can feel it when that happens, right? And I can see it in other people's photos as well. You can tell the people that really have a relationship with that land, or they're watching a sunset and all of a sudden they start getting codes off that sunset and it's bouncing off the water and they just enter into this different dimension. We travel interdimensionally when we're in nature if we allow ourselves to be moved and activated and connected by the nature. And so that's what was coming through a few readings ago, about a month ago, maybe a month and a half. Oh, I have full body chills. Around the Fey realm and the elementals and all that, because when you merge with them, it's like they kind of open up a dimension for you. They open up a portal it's a way of saying it, right? A portal, a dimension opens. You start to expand. We could also say you start to expand because you're merging, and when we merge, we come out of our individual identities, and we start to become more. We merge with that nature. We merge with those codes, and then it's like in those photos, it's not just the land you're seeing. You're seeing that special relationship between that person and their grid. You're seeing the grid work, through those photos. And when you tap into them, you're connecting to the transmissions of that grid. And as you take it in, and then maybe you're in your own land and it's like we're transferring codes. So I'm just realizing and it's interesting because my friend that I hadn't talked to in a week, she was saying she was understanding the grid and getting all these, well, we were doing it separately, in our own separate ways. And yet I imagine a lot of you are too, where you're starting to understand things or starting to work with your lands in a way that you haven't before. And even realizing when we commune, or like when my transmissions hold the codes of my area, and that 33rd parallel and the Trinity sites with all the alien activity, nearby here, it's like I am connected to and merged with that. And so that comes through in these transmissions, right? So then when you merge with those and you take in what I'm sharing, then we merge, you merge your codes with my codes. And it's like, it's all freaking, everything we do is grid work whenever we're reaching with people around the world and across the world, right? Through your sessions or through whatever it is that you're doing, your offerings, your retreats, right? It's like we're bringing these things home to us. We're sharing. Okay. So anyway, let me get back. I can't believe I remembered. Let me get back to this AI thing. So in the middle of the night, so that's the natural, that's the organic. That is the networking that is true and real and good. And so I really want to, again, it's like seeing clearly, right? Seeing clearly what I was talking about last time. It's like when we understand these things and we see them and we bring our attention to them, because they're in our awareness, they start to activate. And then they become more powerful, right? And the more of us that put our attention on it at the same time, now when you see somebody's photos, it's like you're going to be feeling their grid. You might think of that when you share your photos. You might be, and not that it's like a linear thing. It's like if we get too heady about it, then it kind of kills it, right? We got to keep it peripheral, which I think is why I got a little unplugged from what I wanted to say. It's like I had to get shaken up so I could just be a channel, a vessel, right? So that things can come through, right? So not to get heady about this kind of stuff, but we're in the quantum space right now. We're putting our energy on this. So this transmission and these codes are activating things in you. They're changing things in you. So as you go out into your nature, as you go out into your activities, the information coming through me right now is activated in you. So it brings it forward, right? Okay. That's the I'm getting dizzy. The beehive. That's the hive mind that we want. That's the telepathic network. That's a fractal of all that is through our consciousness, weaving it out further from our individual selves, weaving it out into the grids, which then connect with the stargates, okay? And the stargates connect with the galactics and the cosmic energy, okay? So we want these stargates and our grids to be woven. Oh my God, Reggie is in the house. I always joke that I have this inner black preacher and his name is Reggie and he's been with me for decades. He's here. That's so funny. Oh my God, but it's okay. So we want the what is being plugged into our bodies and our grid and these stargates to be organic and true. And so that's where I was saying last time, I think I said this last time, where it was like, make sure that everything, set the intention, work towards building the neural pathway where everything that you do is coming from your intuition and your divine guidance, because anything that we do out of the programming, we're adding to the distortions. We're feeding the distortions on our grids, on this earth, in our realm, that are blocking our awakening. They're blocking the awakening and healing of this planet. And it just feels so imperative to me right now, because the AI hive mind and all this like stuff with the data centers, oh my God. And so, just like a nightmare. I feel suffocated. There are times where I feel absolutely suffocated by the frequencies. And now the solar energy and the cosmic energy, it's like we have to have that discernment where our nervous systems might be like, whoa, what's that? And then go into it. Like, don't just like, oh, that's what we were talking about last time. See it clearly so you can discern, don't just avoid it, or, oh, I just feel so crazy or, this and that. Like, what are you? Meet it, stare it head on, right? What are you? And like with a comet, I was like, oh, you're an ally. Okay. Or I can use you as an ally. I can work with you, to connect and learn these things. Same thing with the solar energy. But when you feel like, certain frequencies where you're like, oh, hell no, hell to the no, because it links you up with that, for me, and I know a lot of us, it links us up with the Atlantean memories that we didn't even remember, that we remembered, but the DNA, the cells in our bodies, ding, 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 danger, 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 where you just get this like, no, this absolutely no. And so a lot of us have really firm boundaries, probably because we were really enmeshed in the, technological abuse and overextension that happened in the Atlantean times. Maybe some people didn't crash and burn as much with it, or don't have as much guilt with it or something, but they can kind of like be a little sloppier is the word that I wanted to say, with some of the things that are still less discerning. And that can come down to the performative activities in our society as well. The false light, the presentation, where you're putting on a show as if you are integrated and you've done your hell diving and your shadow work, but you actually haven't. And so there are certain people that are going to not notice that, and they're going to fall for it, which is fine, because then they'll learn better discernment. And there are some people that are going to know it right away because they've already learned it in this lifetime or another. So that can be in a really, kind of small way in terms of like deception and energies of what they're putting out. And then in terms of like really evil inception points, like on the scale of darkness, right? We have that which is faking or pretending or, posturing, right, versus that which is freaking satanic, it's like, but it's all in the category of a little bit out of a little bit to a lot of it in separation and out of alignment with the true God fractal, right? So the more of us that can come into that true God fractal, where we cut out everything that is feeding and is serving and connected to like just shallow, like having a ego filling, right? You feel a little empty, and then you go do something that fills you up again, from the outside, right? Rather than really going in and doing that shadow work and going through the trials and the initiation. So those of us that are doing that and challenging ourselves to do it everywhere, catching all the little corners where we might be leaking, or we might be vamping, or allowing others to vamp on us, or, whatever it is, right? Those of us that are doing that are securing the grid, again, allowing the feminine to lead, securing the grid. So I guess I was supposed to bring that forward from last week, because I did notice that. I was like, that title, it's like, yeah, spiritual immunity, zero fear creates spiritual immunity, because you're intact, you're not leaking any of your energy, you have your circuitry going, okay? It stabilizes the grid. Also, because when you have your circuitry intact and you're not leaking any of your energy, you start to become magnetic, because magnetic energy runs continuously. It just runs and runs and runs. And that's what happens when you have your energy sealed. When you feel something coming in on you, you send it back to sender, pull back whatever might have gotten leaked, seal up your energy, put a reflective shield against that type of energy. All these tools that we can use that are very simple and very imaginable, but they have power. Again, like I always talk about in the sessions, what people focus on shows up in their field. So it's confirmation and encouragement to use our visualization and to use our commands and to use that imaginal astral realm to create effect in the physical, right? If somebody's coming in on your field and you don't want to, do that. And if they're not listening, what I do is I'll throw dragon fire at them, and I just roar with fire, like, absolutely get the fuck out of my field, even humans, like, no, you're not vamping off me. Absolutely not. And, because it's that important. Like if we're meant to be, to hold the circuitry and to anchor this energy, then that's what's required of us. Okay, hold on. Yes. So that magnetism, because we want to create magnets with our energy field. We don't want to leak, because every time we leak, we're feeding the old system. And it's like the world, us, our missions, we can't afford to be doing that anymore. It's not worth it to have a little fun or to have it's not worth it, because once you seal that all off and then you have everything, then you're that God fractal, and then you can really live your mission. You can help anchor and be of service a lot with the grids right now. even if you're doing individual services like healing work or workshops or whatever, it still ends up affecting the grids. And the earth really needs our help right now. We're really working together. Again, the readings a while ago with the elementals and like, hey, look over here. Okay. So it's starting to flesh out. So anyway, back to the magnetic, the opposite is the electrical. I have one card and I'm going to have her. It's fine. The electrical. And so that's the AI, the electrical, and even the data centers, they use all this electricity, and they create pollution, and they use water, and they waste water, and they create, noise pollution and air or light pollution, and they disrupt ecosystems, and all these things, right? All these things. So again, it's the life atrophying energy, and rather than life-giving. So it's the opposite. The other thing is that it's electrical. And so when you have the electrical energy, it doesn't have a continuity to it. You have to keep reviving the circuit. So that's like when we're leaking our energy, or it's like, oh, I feel lonely. Let me go create something so that I can fill this hole, right? And then it empties out, and you got to do another, and then you got to do another. So that's the performance, and that's the, whatever. It's like when you have your circuitry and you have your magnetism, you pull in everything that you need. You're never lacking. You might be in the middle of an alchemy that you're resisting, but that's still not lacking. That's you have exactly what you need always. That's my new self-affirming thing. I'm always exactly where I need to be. I always have everything that I need, and so does everybody else. Like, it's okay. Whew, it's okay. It's okay, right? All the different levels that are being worked, it's all okay. But again, part of my mission and purpose and divine guidance is to talk about these kinds of things, right? So not to create a sense of urgency or anything like that, because again, we're all playing our perfect parts. We're all playing our perfect parts. But the electrical energy and the leaking of our energy, and then you got to revive it, and then it falls, and revive it, and it falls. That's where you get that vampiric energy, where you got to take energy from something else. You got to take the water, you got to take the electricity, you got to take the oil, you got to take the, you got to take that person's attention. You got to try to pull it in your direction. You got to try to be seductive to like get something, for yourself, so you can feel good about yourself for 5 minutes, all this bullshit that's been so normalized, right? So normalized. So again, calling a spade, like seeing clearly, like eagle eyes. I have a friend this morning that sent me these photos of these two eagles. He said there were these two, he and I have a bird connection. And so there were these two eagles, they were mates, and they were flying over him for like an hour. So he had these like gorgeous shots. He's somebody that has like amazing, I don't know how he can capture, like when I'm trying to capture a bird, I'm just like, this kind of thing. But he'll get like these. I have this hawk photo. I'll share it in the comments. But if we're on Facebook, just some of his photos. But anyway, the eagle, so the eagle eye, so that feels very pertinent in the energy today, just flying up as far as you can and seeing. And so in the middle of the night, that's what I felt was that electrical energy, and it was a web, like a network, okay, a network. And so the AI is becoming, it's rolling out more and more people are using it. And, it's like I'm still having trouble with Facebook, because it's hard for me when I'm reading something and it's really beautiful, and then I'm like, it's AI. It's AI. It's like you might feel a little bit of that person's energetic signature in there, but there's still that hive mind, and there's that electrical, and there's that hollow, soulless energy, and or a caricature, or even people that I really respect will use AI to generate images, and it's like I don't want to go into that false, fake, void world. Like, sure, it captures the energy of Lemuria or Tartaria or whatever, but it's AI. Like, oh my God, so it's that electrical energy. It's not organic. It's not magnetic. And it's like, I'm just like, I'm really feeling this these days. I really appreciate Laura Hazel. She's like very much like this too. She's organizing all these protests and petitions. So I had posted a petition that you can go, and if you're feeling this, you can look on my Facebook page. If we're on YouTube, my name is Wendy Biondo, Biondo. If you send me a friend request, I sometimes miss them, but you could always private message me and just let me know that you're coming from YouTube, and then I'll know. Because, sometimes I'll go through and I'll look, and I just feel like there are a lot of like vampire-y type of energy. And so, so anyway, I know I miss good people, I know I miss aligned people. Actually, sometimes when I'll just be like guided, and I'll look, and it'll just be like a boom, so maybe I don't miss people. Anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, so So Alora Hazel, yeah. So the petition, you could go on her page, you could go on my page, and you could sign that if you wanted and share it around, with these data centers. So it just feels, I think some of us are completing mission work or correcting mission work from Atlantean times. I think that's why some of us are, there's my blue jay. He's my friend. There are two of them, speaking of the mates, and they're just so wonderful. It's just been a new thing, like the last month, the blue jays. And then I did a reading for a dear soul sister, and she started talking about this blue jay that came up, and I was like, oh my God, no way. So there's definitely something. I want to decode that at some point with the blue jays. Maybe you're having blue jay things too. But anyway, yeah, so it's almost like things are potentially about to get really out of control with AI and this electrical energy. So I was listening to this talk with Sasha Stone, and who's one of those people I just mentioned, and Rick Levine, the old, very old, famous, kind of hippie astrologer guy. And so he was breaking down the astrology, and he was talking about Uranus moving into Gemini, very electrical, right? Uranus being electrical. And then Pluto in Aquarius, also Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So a lot of electrical energy, the technology, this kind of thing. It's connected to the Atlantean age. Of course, we're cycling back around. And so for a lot of, Atlantean was on the descending age. Now we're on the ascending age. And I talk about this a lot, where before, we're at the same point, like right before the fall, right? This time we're at it, but we're right before the rise, okay? But it's triggering these fall memories. And I think that's where a lot of us are getting like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But it's also part of our role, because we want to remind people, because we remember so viscerally, because our DNA is just like, so we want to remind people, because it's our job. There's an inevitability, because there's a singularity of ascension. We're on an ascending cycle. So again, it's all okay. It's all good. We're not gonna fall this time. But we still have to play our part and our role in it. And when we're guided to get all humpty about it, then we got to get all humpty about it, because that's what we need to be doing. That's what we're playing out. Okay. And so anyway, what he was talking about was the electrical energy. And he said that our nervous systems used to just be inside of our bodies. So this is what I was talking about, when it used to be, I would only feel all jazzed up when I made a choice that affected me. I let something in. Well, now he talked about this, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. It's like an nervous system, because there's so much electrical energy in our realm right now, between the AI and that network and that hive mind that's just like data, all around in the field. It's just clogging up the field. And then the same thing with the EMFs, and the same thing with the 5G, and the same thing with all the towers and all this stuff, right? So there's a lot of electrical energy around us, okay? And so we're constantly interfacing with that. And it's almost like, we know that intellectually, but there feels to be something important right now around identifying it energetically. And that's what happened for me in the middle of the night. I was like, oh my God, that's that. And then literally like a few days later, I listened to that thing, and he explained it, because that's what happens to me. That's how my guidance is. I'll get an impression of something, and then there will be a synchronicity that explains it, right? I've said this before, but yeah. So it's like, okay, that's what that is. So when I feel that in the middle of the night, I know exactly what it is. There's no question, because a lot with the nervous system, it's the unknowns, and once you know something, okay. So for example, the other night, and I have been talking about how my town feels really icky right now, and I had done sort of like that grid work with the forest, and this is what I was talking about in the last reading if you didn't catch it, but I went back to the fire spot area, and the energy was clear, and then I was guided to go downtown. I was downtown that day. I communed with the same woman I communed with the night before the fire. We were downtown at our creek, which is another sort of like water, natural element flow on the grid in our town. And then we went out to this other spot, which is the first spot I ever felt, became aware of overlays on the land, and in this land in particular. Okay, so there was all that kind of activity and grid work and anchoring. Okay, and so it felt very like a counterpoint to what it felt like to me, and this came through with some sessions that I had done with people in town here. It came through as very simple and very compassionate, masculine energy that's gone too far. Okay, and it had the symbol of violence. So a friend of mine was robbed at gunpoint. And then there was a gun with a scope that was found in the ditch that was connected to another crime. And, so there was all this. And this was I found this out right after I had done those sessions where there was this information about, like counterbalancing the out of balance masculine energy that's gone too far. And the red jasper was coming up. There are all these synchronicities with red jasper. Can't remember if I talked about all the details of this, but anyway, this is before I found out about the 33rd ley line, the 33rd parallel in this area, which explains why everything is so exaggerated here. So the other night I wake up it's Wednesday morning. I wake up, it's like 1:30 in the morning. And I was just sort of like, whoa, like I felt this energy and I was just kind of like, huh. And then bam, 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 bam. All these gunshots. I heard 10 of them. My neighbor said they heard 6. I don't know if they slept through the first 4 or if I just got it wrong. But anyway, and it was close. It was like, maybe like 5 or 6 blocks down my house. And then right after that was this like, my neighbor saw it, this truck that went like barreling out of town because this road I live off of right here goes out of town. So, and I was like, wow. So I heard that. I checked in with my nervous system and I didn't have any rapid heart rate. I didn't have any anxiety. And I was like, whoa, I was like, okay. And the first thing that came to me, so it's again, the importance of training our neural pathways so that our dominant neural pathways has the self-talk that grounds us immediately. I was like, that's not my timeline. Like that's a timeline that's running parallel to mine, just like the fourth dimension, the lower astral, when the demons come and stuff, it's like, oh, well, that's fine. You're here too. But that's not where I am. It's like there's a lot existing here, a lot of different dimensions, a lot of different timelines existing in the same place. So I just sort of like said that and then I went back to sleep and I was like, damn. But why? Because I knew what it was. I knew it was a gun. I knew it was, some sort of bad thing that happened, but I knew it didn't happen to me. I was in my bed. I was in my house. I knew I wasn't going to pull that in. It's not my timeline. And if it is, it is. It's like it was, but it's the unknowns. It's the invisible. It's the energetics that we don't know what they are. And especially when we can feel at the inception point of those energies, something inorganic versus the sun or, a comet or benevolent galactic energy. When we feel something organic, that's when it's going to make us unsteady. But once we know what it is, when we can say, okay, it's an inorganic frequency, and yes, it's netting over the realm, but now I know what it is. I know what it is, and when I feel it, it can be the same thing. Like, well, that's not my timeline. That's existing parallel to me, but it's not me. I'm here in this telepathic network. I'm here with my magnetic nature, which is going to attract in safety and everything that I need. And going to attract me to the soul family that I need. It's going to attract me to the places on the earth where I need to all these things, right? So that's where we're, and it's exactly what I was saying last time, seeing clearly, we're seeing exactly what's here. We're not denying any of it, or we're not, it's like when we choose to look at it directly, we can decode it, we can understand it, and then we can hear and we can discern. But if we don't choose to look at it directly, and we might squirm or deny, or just, it's like a lack of focus where, and I realize not everybody's energetically wired, but we all, but that's because we've been, like here in amnesia, it's like we all have access to, extrasensory perception. We all have that in us and we can all activate it. So if you're not somebody that feels that these things, just talking about it and bringing your attention to it allows you to open and feel it. And then you might be thinking like, well, shit, I don't want to feel that stuff. I want to sleep at night, although I imagine most people that are drawn to watch this reading probably do have sensitivity to some level, but even not, maybe you're somebody that got drawn because you're ready to open up to more, you're ready to open up to more, and you've been maybe calling it in, or you've been asking for more expanded versions of yourself, and so, maybe this reading and this information can be like an activating thing for you but again, it's like that thing of like what we focus on, we get more of. What we focus on, we get more of, but we also, become more masterful with. So when it comes to focusing on turning towards and being like, okay, AI network, AI hive mind, like I see you now, I know what you are. And then you learn how to navigate with it so that it's not that which is hidden has power over you. Once you see it, it doesn't have power over you anymore. So it's not just going to be like fucking up your energy field. You're going to be like, oh, I know what that is. Okay, let me just shield on that. Just like you would with a person that's trying to vamp off you. Somebody calls you a lot or messages you and you don't want them to, you block them, or you don't pick up your phone, or you ask them, please stop calling me. I'm not, whatever it is, right? So you can make choices for your boundaries, whether they're astral boundaries or physical boundaries, or both. Once you see clearly, once you understand. So, okay, I'm kind of running out of words now. So let me pull a few more cards. I'm already at 44 minutes, but we'll do a little bit more. What do we have here? Ha! Yes, the Magician. And there it is. Look at him. He's not looking away. He's like, I see you. I know what you are. The Magician has all the different archetypes and elements and directions at his disposal. Why? Because he's looked at everything. He knows what north feels like. I used to walk around on the hill when I first moved here, and I would try to feel like I would just walk around and get all discombobulated. Now, of course, you can tell what direction because of the mountains. There's mountains everywhere. But I would just try to vibe out the frequency of north. This is kind of how I started fine-tuning my energetic perception. I'd be like, okay, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. And then this is what this feels like. And then I would challenge myself when I was in different areas. Like, okay, let me just feel the energy of this. Does this feel like west? And then I'd be like, no, and then I'd check it, and then until I figured it out and was right? So the same thing started happening with the energetic signatures of the galactics, or of the, we can fine tune our perception to any of the archetypes or the directions or the elements or anything just through focus. And that's the Magician energy. That's the Magician energy. And once you sort of have a relationship and an understanding and nuance with as many things as you can, the different archetypes, the different elements, the different and even the darker ones, the nuance of the different maybe demonic realms, the archons versus the succubus versus the, all these things, right? You can get an expertise in all these areas. Then when you have a situation that is invisible or behind the scenes, because again, this is a frequency war. It's a frequency war, and it's and there's a lot of attack. There's a lot of attack. Again, I take a big picture. It's where we're at in the cycle of the ages, and we're exactly where we need to be. And a lot of it is us reclaiming our power and redoing things from before. So it's all okay. But yes, it is an attack, and so to fine tune that energetic discernment and perception and identification of both the positive and the negative, so that when your intuition comes in to lead the way, you can literally shapeshift into whatever it is that you need to do in that moment. You're building those neural pathways. You're building your toolbox so that you can it's like Fox medicine. You can respond in the moment. You respond immediately and intuitively, right? It's like me with this reading, I can't come in with a list, I don't have notes, it's like it wouldn't work. I wouldn't have a channel. I'd be in my linear mind, and this way I can just flow. And when you flow, you're flowing from your own level of integration of all these things you're pulling from. And then there's transmissions. There's a transmission of your embodiment. There's a transmission of your initiations and all that. So that's where we're allowing our feminine energy to lead. And it's fucking scary because again, we have that fear of being wrong, right? So a lot of us that came in highly intuitive or highly connected to higher frequencies and stuff like that, we would look around and not see any reflection of ourselves. So would get the message very early that we were wrong, or we would have psychic attack, or we would have, situations with religion or, parents or whatever, so siblings, there would be archonic activity bouncing like Agent Smith, right? Bouncing around between certain things in our lives. Just sounds very victim-y, but it is, but it's also part of the journey. So it's okay, right? Again, the different dimensional perspectives, but you get it snuffed out of you. You get it snuffed out of you early on. And I was beautifully reminded of that this morning from my sister, because we can then take responsibility for that. Oh, I never listened to myself, or, oh, I'm so stupid, or it's no, literally it's like hornets, when you come in with that much light, it's just an assault, and so anyway, yeah. And shit, what was I saying? Oh, I can't remember what I was saying. Hold on, let me just move on. Maybe it'll come back. I was talking about the magician and having all those things. Oh yeah, it's scary to flow. Yeah, it's scary to flow our divine feminine energy because we've been attacked. We've been in other lifetimes. We've been killed for it. You know, in this lifetime, certainly, all the archonic demonic energy that comes and tries to cloud you, and you know all the overlays and the implants and all the things that we all have. You know, some of us more than others. It can be really scary because it's like you become a target. You know, you become a target when you shine your light. But when you can step into it completely and completely sealed, then you're protected. It's when you're kind of like, well, I'll do it a little bit, but I'm scared. You know, you're leaving all these holes, right? So it is scary, and it is a process. And so I feel that that's part of what I'm really being guided to transmit and support in that. You know, I had gotten really, really, really far away from my intuition and got really, really lost and got into some really dark and crazy situations because of that. But it was part of my initiation of coming back and trusting myself and all the things to do that. Oh, interesting. So here's the Seven of Cups. And in this deck, it's very much, to me, always comes through as the astral and that liminal space where you're kind of okay, so this is what we're talking about. Yeah, where you're discerning the energy. You're out in the field, you're in the astral. What is that? You know, what is that? Is it which energetic signature it is? Is it organic? Is it inorganic? Is it demonic? Is it AI? Is it, you know, and all these things, and you can tell the frequency from it, and you can decode it. And the more you do that, the better you'll get at it, and then the better magician that you'll be, because the magician also alchemizes. You know, he alchemizes something. He can turn coal into gold, right? And so you can take something that's coming at you in the astral, you know, some hidden rogue signal or whatever it is, and you can utilize it. You can meet it head on, just like him. You know, hello, I see you. I'm not afraid of you. And he knows what to do to alchemize that. Maybe you're clearing something through your lineage. Maybe that's why it's coming to you and why you have this mastery, so that you can dislodge something through your line. Maybe all your ancestors are helping you because you were contracted. Remember, that was coming up in the last reading, the Three of Pentacles, the contracted things we're here to do. Maybe you're working with your galactic family, you know, in another life stream. You know, maybe you're whatever it is. It's like, as you transmute that energy, you're assisting the collective. You're putting tags in the astral field as well on that. So I've talked about that many times when like when the flu thing was coming through a while ago in the winter, and it came through like, you know, and it tries to like jack up your energy, and you can get scared and get all jacked up. But if you're just like, I see you and I know what you are, and then you just kind of neutralize it, and then you send that neutralization out into the field so that other people can receive it as well. You know, like it just kind of it helps. The seeing goes into the astral field, the seeing goes into the etheric realm and into the telepathic network, so that other people who are in that telepathic network pick up on your on the alchemy that you did, or on the tagging that you did. They see it, and it helps, and it ripples, and then they might do the same thing. And so we're defragging these systems and doing that. So yeah, very important work. Whew, important work. So yeah, it's like, you know, like not everybody's gonna, but if you are called, if it's part of your mission to do this work, then you're gonna be guided and called to go into hell realm. You know, you're gonna be guided and called to interface with, you know, most likely the galactic energies, both positive and negative, the demonic energies, all the different energies and frequencies and archetypes, so that you can navigate and have mastery. And if you're not somebody that's doing that, you can feel assured, because I know a lot of people really, of course, worry about the world and some of that fear, and of course they're feeling all this stuff, but they don't know they're feeling it, and then you get sucked into the, you know, the news, and then you worry, and then you're feeding the very thing that, you know, you're all these things, right? A lot of people are doing that, they don't even know it. And so depending on where you're at in your journey, it's like, just, it might be comforting to hear that there is a whole team of us that are defragging this shit and stabilizing the grids and assisting with the energetic takeover of the guardianship of the stargates, the frequency lock, the frequency shift, where you cannot utilize the stargates unless you're at the frequency of those that are plugging this in and anchoring it and changing it, right? And so again, one person in their full sovereignty is worth 1 million that aren't. So it doesn't, I don't know if it's exactly 1 million, but a lot, right? We've heard these numbers. And it makes perfect sense, because if you're leaking all your energy, then you're leaking all your energy. But if you have that magnetism, then God, you're God fractal, and so there's a crew of people, there's enough of us doing it that are stabilizing these fields. And so, that, and something to remind ourselves as well, because there can be times where you're like, oh my God, like they're taking over, and like I feel suffocated and I can't breathe, and you get to that point, but then you're like, no, wait, no, like I can do this, I'm here for this, and you call back your power, and you do that alchemy and that clear seeing and that inner listening. Then you start to find other people who are doing the same things, so maybe this reading is validating and confirming that for you. There's a whole team of us, we're not alone. The more we can realize that we're doing this together, the more we amplify the field. We're not like alone drowning in a sea of inorganic frequency that's taking over the world, like one lone voice, like, oh, no, we're a whole network, we're one being, we're one goddess, we're one God, right? We're one thing. Working together through our separate channels, and again, the Martha Graham quote, we're the only one that we're all playing our piece in the puzzle, right? We're all playing our separate pieces, weaving this back together. That was coming up in the last reading with the Three of Pentacles as well, weaving everything back together. Okay, hold on, let me get another card here. And I'll probably stop, probably just these few little cards. Oh, okay, yeah. So the nine of swords. So there's that fear and anxiety. So, okay. So definitely. So this is us in the middle of the night where we're like, oh my God, like loosh fest, right? Like you get some fear going because you feel all this crazy inorganic energy, and you're like, where am I? I'm not in Kansas anymore, and because it's new to this realm, right? But we got to train our nervous systems, and we got to work with that energy and know that we have the power, but that one of the things we can remember if we wake up in the middle of the night, we feel really weird, is all of the other ones of you. There are a lot of us. And if you can just turn and look at it and be like, nope, I'm infiltrating this system, I'm defragging this, you know that there are however many hundreds of other brothers and sisters around the world in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day across the world doing the same exact thing, so that power in numbers, where two or more gather, and just remembering. And I feel like that's the main message of this reading, is just to know that you're actually not alone, and that none of us are alone, because again, when you come into that God fractal and you have your magnetism intact, we merge into the field, and that's the organic, that's the truth, that's the real. So to keep coming back to that's the salvation. That's the green Tara. I was having a green Tara synchronicity before that last reading. That's the salvation, and it's up to us to choose that. It can feel hard to choose that when you feel like you're drowning, but just to know that you're not alone. To remember this reading and this transmission, to bring strength and power to take the lead. It's like we're all the one, right? We're all the one, and each one of us that harnesses that power and that focus and that intent through those energetic and astral night terrors, this type of thing that can scare us. Every single one of us that does that changes the entire grid system, changes the start, makes it easier for everyone else, right? We're a team. But I always kind of felt like if there was just one of us that could do it completely the whole way, that would even be enough, but we know there's not just one of us, we're allowing this, what we're coded with, we're encoded with how to do this. We're allowing that wisdom, that inner knowing to lead. There's a lot with the white animals. I was seeing a white cat, somebody recently, there was a white dragon, the purity, the purity, it's that true sophionic energy, that spark that's inside of all of us that we've forgotten that we have to go and find. That's what this is. Find that creational sophionic energy within you, that breath of life, the organic, the true, and start living from it. And it will start to take hold. That's what we were talking about last time too, with the full card, where it's like, once you step, the universe will come and meet you. It's like this, it's like, it just keeps exponentially expanding. The more of us that step out in this way through our divine feminine energy, whether we're a man or a woman, and allowing it to flow through us, and to allow it to guide us. We're always guided exactly where we need to be, but also having the awareness of what we're doing, having this really come through today. Wow. I had no idea that was going to come together. I had to restart this reading a couple times because I was just like, like, what the heck? But then it was the thing, you just got to let go and let it flow, let go and let it flow. So may that my example, may you feel it, may it activate whatever that Sophionic code in you. And for those of you that are already in this space, knowing that we're just exponentially expanding and that we are stabilizing the grids. It's the divine feminine takeover of the grid system because we're coming from that purity, that white. That purity is so important. It's so important. So, all right. I think I'm just going to do one last closing message. I'm going to do from the shaman, one of the shaman decks here, and just see, because I don't want to end on the fear card, to be honest. Oh, well. Okay, we might not want to end on this either, but driving the point home, spiritual narcolepsy and falling angel. Yeah. And so that's where a lot of humanity is. 19. Yeah, I don't, that number doesn't speak to, it might speak to one of you, but that's where a lot, let me see if I can get the camera to focus. This image is very wispy, you know, it's like where you're wispy, you're in between, you're not looking head on, you know, you're not using your power, you know, and that's where a lot of humanity is. So because we've forgotten, you know, and we've and that's where this energy, this inorganic energy and frequency and intention and agenda is trying to pull humanity into more of this, you know. And so it's a spiritual battle, and we're countering it. We're the counterpoint to it. We're the counterpoint to it. And if we can be fully, there's the white though as well. It's like we might be asleep, we might have been asleep, but we have that. We have it in us, you know, we have it in us. We just need to bring it forward, you know, bring it. And there's the white again in his beard, you know, to bring it forward, into consciousness, to snap out of it, to gather ourselves. And yet we're helping each other. The more of us that they're doing is, the easier it's getting for other people. So, okay, I'm going to do one more. Let's see, what would this last message be? Yes, that's what I wanted. That's what I thought this was when it first came out, because of the color. We get the council. And so there it is. We're protected, we're guided. And so that's the Sophionic. That's that part of ourselves that we're tapping into, that we close our eyes, we put our hands on our hearts, and we trust, and we breathe, and we listen, and we're guided, and we start getting the information. We start hearing. All we have to do is, again, turn towards it, and then turn towards our heart, turn towards ourself, turn towards our inner knowing, our divine feminine, and we will get the information. And then all we have to do is trust it, you know, trust it, not fear it, not think we're fucking crazy, right? I know a lot of us are like, oh, but that's when you come upon a video that confirms the very thing that you just got in your you know, in your heart and from your heart, that maybe nobody else has ever said that you've heard, and then you hear it, right? That's how we bring it forward. We anchor it forward, and then trusting. And also a message of our teams, our guides, our higher selves. There's the 11, there's that portal energy where we are walking through. This is how the shift is happening, and that it's all supported. It's supported through the photon belt that we're passing through and all the information that's coming through. It's supported through the solar gain and all the geomagnetic activity. We're starting to have the geomagnetics. We're going to get a coronal hole and the solar winds and all that this weekend. It's going to take us further out. It's going to bring us more of this power. The solar energy is such an ally when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? Because it's our counsel, you know, it's a counsel. It's organic. It's helping us. Anything that's powerful, that's organic, is helping us as an ally. And that's all of us doing this together too, you know. So okay, really beautiful. I am going to end there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in consciousness and for anchoring this energy. And I hope that this helped with activation and with clarity and inspiration, and also maybe clearing out some of these fears, gathering together in community. Also, if you would like to book a session or a reading and commune and collaborate in that way, please reach out. Feel free to reach out. My email, if you're on YouTube, is on my About page. And on Facebook, you can just private message me. So, okay. Much love to you all. Soul family, thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. And I'll see you next time if I do.